You'll notice in your agenda that Mary Standen is supposed to be the speaker today. I was going to make a really bad dad joke and say I'm standing in for Mary. Oh. No, I'm not a comedian like Ben. I chose to be in pharmaceutical development. So the reason why Mary isn't here, and there's a relevance to the dad joke, is like myself, she's a new parent. She has a 3-year-old and twins that are about to turn 1 year old. And they're at home all with conjunctivitis and an upper respiratory infection. So I'm so looking forward to having my child bring home all these illnesses from daycare and from school. So she sends her regrets, and I'm the fill-in for today. So the title of the presentation, which will soon be up here, is about quality of life. And I all know everyone in this room wants it and wants the best quality of life. But this term, quality of life, probably means something different to all of you, right? You have different interests, you have different ranges of emotion when it comes to different things that are evolving or involved in your life. I just expressed something about my family, but it all is relative to you as an individual. So I call this a discussion because this is a two-way street. Just as much as I'm going to give information to you, I'm going to ask that you give information back. So on your tables, there's a QR code. QR codes are making a comeback during COVID. Everybody is able to use QR codes. Just layer over your QR code, take a photo. It'll take you to a link, a Survey Monkey, that at the end of this session, you'll help me with a series of questions that we'll take back, aggregate, and hopefully develop into useful tools and maybe even into upcoming clinical trials. So I'm going to share some information about the clinical trial, the pivotal trial that's going to help us approve seladelpar. You heard Chris Bolus mention seladelpar in the list of investigational drugs. We'll also talk about the existing clinical trials as well as our existing measurements of quality of life and also the future measurements, and you'll help us with that and then get your feedback on which ones you believe might be most viable and fit into your lives. A little bit about CymaBay. We are dedicated to all of you affected by PBC and your caregivers. When I say we're dedicated, this is our sole focus. We're developing a single drug for an indication for PBC. And what that does is allow us to eliminate any of the distractions by having other indications, other sets of drugs, and get deeper into PBC as a condition, understand the healthcare providers that treat you, and understand how to do clinical trial work even better. Just to get you into the mindset of what it's like to work at CymaBay, I used to work in a big pharmaceutical company. Our CEO just sent a message to Carol and Kathy just saying, sorry that I can't be there. Apologies, something came up, but I wanted to be there in person and I wanted to tell you all the great success in having your first live meeting in a long time. So I'm getting choked up because that's the reason why I am at CymaBay, is because of people like that really believe in all of you and believe that we can do better. So we're developing this drug called seladelpar. It's part of a unique class, the first of its kind, and we call them delpars. Delpars act on PPAR delta, which on the right side of the screen impact things like reduction of bile acids and inflammation and fibrosis, as well as lipid metabolism. We heard a lot about that from Dr. Bolus this morning. It is unique because it hits all of these targets, and which really play an important role in PBC. Like a lot of my colleagues, and mostly sitting in the back of the room, together we're looking for real solutions, not just Band-Aids, not to plug holes, that will ultimately make an impact. And so that's why we're developing all these new therapies. Speaking to Carol at lunch, We've moved from maybe 2 industry sponsors in the past to now 11, and that's just fantastic that we're all here and we're all together fighting the same cause, as well as, you know, having others here to support as well. Many of you may remember a survey that you did back in 2018. There were 824 people impacted with PBC that were asked to complete the survey, and the PBCer group did this. Great sample size to draw from. And from that survey, we were able to glean that approximately 80% of people had some sort of fatigue and expressed that as a concern. 75% had overlap syndrome, another autoimmune disorder. Many of you, I think, expressed that you did by raise of hands this morning. And then 60% reported itch in this survey. I mean, this gives us a great baseline of how much these conditions impact PBC in general, but ultimately what we need to do about it and how to prioritize. So within the mission of CymaBay, the words quality of life are integrated into everything we do on a routine basis. And this means generating awareness around the issues of some of the things you just saw on the previous slide, like fatigue and pruritus, ensuring that you have the right types of information to engage with healthcare providers, but also that healthcare providers have the right information to engage with you. And in the past, maybe they didn't have all the tools in their tool set to help you with quality of life issues like fatigue and pruritus. But hopefully in the future, we'll be able to measure these in clinical trials, hopefully the improvement of all of these conditions, and then find new ways to measure quality of life that aren't just filling out a survey or a chart at every office visit or alone while you're not in front of your healthcare team. So what types of quality life measures, and what do I mean by that? Well, usually they're measured by patient-reported outcome measures called PROs or PROMs. These tools are typically questionnaires completed by you without the need for a clinician. Have any of you in the room filled out these forms? And usually by e-diaries, right? It's an automated system. Has anybody done that before? Okay, a few of you. They differ from investigator-reported adverse events because it's you who deem how you're feeling, and versus the clinician who, based off of their clinical knowledge, is giving those, reporting those based off of the experiences he or she have with you. And you know, if you're not having those deeper conversations, maybe you don't really understand if you're actually affecting to the level of the severity based off of an event that a healthcare provider's seen. So it's a more rounded view by the patient, by the investigator, and that's why we measure PROs, through PROs. Some of the unique instruments in the past, and these are all validated tools that have been adjudicated through multiple studies, is the PBC-40. It's a longer questionnaire that look at different domains like fatigue, sleep, memory, dry eyes, digestion, daily living. A lot of these probably resonate with you given your condition, and they're usually completed about every 3 months. So you go through this battery of questions like an SAT to answer these, and they're collected via e-diary. You'll see a theme here with the e-diary. The next one is a pruritus NRS score, and that asks you on a routine basis daily for the first 6 months and then weekly thereafter based on a Likert scale, 0 being having none and 10 being having the worst, how you feel, how your pruritus is impacting your life. And so hopefully by looking at this multiple times during your treatment, that you'll be able to see improvement from your baseline score moving downwards towards no pruritus. The 5D itch is another battery of tests that's done almost as frequently as the NRS score every 2 weeks and then 6 months thereafter. This gets to a little bit more level of specificity around pruritus, like when you have pruritus, when it seems to be most severe, all the way down to things like how it impacts your daily lives and sleep. The next one is a PGI, and PGI stands for Patient Global Impression. This is another battery of tests that rates, in this case, itch. S meaning that it's severity, and C meaning it's the change over time. And as you can see, they're within a scale as well. The severity is none versus severe, but there's also different grades of severe, often not assessed through this instrument. So the reason I'm showing you this is, this could be viewed as pretty cumbersome, right? If you're gonna be filling out all these surveys daily, weekly, and then maybe every 6 months. So we've progressed in, with technology and just how we assess these types of events in clinical trials. So we're looking for your feedback in terms of what else can we do in clinical studies to measure this. So the first one is a 6-minute walk test. This is usually used in the cardiovascular setting. If you think about it, you have to go on a treadmill or on land for about 6 months. Your blood pressure, your pulse, and your oxygen level are all measured. And this deems whether or not you would have something like fatigue, would be a good measurement of motor function. The polysonogram is usually done in a sleep clinic. I don't know if anybody has sleep apnea, but certainly this is a separate type of a study where you would go in and it would ultimately measure your brain waves and look at quality of sleep. So that might be something that could help not only in the clinical trial to assess what types of sleep patterns you have, but also others in the future in terms of improvements with certain medications or interventions. The last one is the Wechsler, now I'm going to get this totally wrong, the Wechsler Abbreviated Scale of Intelligence. Sounds kind of daunting, doesn't it? And this is a cognitive test administered by your clinician. And it's a battery of tests that would basically assess things like brain fog. And so that's another instrument that could be applied. Again, it's a one-on-one interview type setting, so it's another level of information collection that could help assess things like cognition. Now, moving into the current day, many of you have Apple Watches. I was thinking of the ring that you wear. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Oura ring, thank you. The Oura ring, and everybody has a phone. So there are different mobile apps that can help track this. It makes, for better ease of use. Certainly people are on their most common apps per day. So as long as you don't leave your phone at home or your Apple Watch near the sink all day, you can definitely track basically your every action and your systemic symptoms based off of these things like mobile apps or wearable devices. So this is just another way to look at it. And why am I addressing this topic with all of you? It's really about making some progress. A lot of these things we believe are antiquated. We also have the ability to do, very targeted types of studies to assess quality of life issues, and for all of you, focus on the things that might be more important to you. So this is where you all come into play. So those of you that have used the QR code and you still have the opportunity to do it on your phone, I'm going to go through a list of questions with you, and this is the only part of the presentation where it's okay to look down. But before I do this, I just need some proof that I was here with all of you. And I want you to raise up your hands like in triumph, okay? Ready? And 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take multiple ones. And I'm going to make sure my hair looks good in that one. Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, thank you. So looking at the series of questionnaires, and I'm going to need my glasses for this one. And I'm running out of time, sorry. There's a CymaBay logo and a survey on quality of life. And most of the questions are check the boxes that apply. So what other measurements of quality of life would you like to see in studies with PBC? Fatigue, sleep, ability to focus, itch, activity level, or other? Other, we hear things about abdominal pain as a condition, so fill in the other if you feel like there should be some other type of measurement. The second question, which tests or assessment tools? I talked about the 6-minute walk test, which would require you probably going onto a treadmill, great for the avid runners. Polysonogram, which would probably go to a sleep clinic, or the Weckler assessment, which would mean that you just need to go to somebody who's qualified to administer that test, or any of the apps or wearables. Just check all that apply. And then which assessment tools would you routinely use as part of your clinical care if you didn't leave your Apple Watch near the sink? Apps to measure motor function or wearables to track activity and location. Which do you view as minimally invasive and you would be willing to raise your hand to do it? And then there's an open field text in here. Anything you want to tell us about, something that's, of interest, do you think, to us in the realm of quality of life, just feel free. It's all anonymous. It's all going to be aggregated data. Just let us know how you feel. And thank you for your attention for the 15 minutes that I was up here. And I appreciate you working with me to fill out this questionnaire. Thanks.